Hey guys, how you doing? So I figured today I'd do something a little bit different. I think I'd actually do a drawing where I'm actually gonna do kind of a special like kind of Memorial Day themed like stream. And that give me just one moment. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I was checking on the what I thought I heard coming down outside. Yeah, it's been raining kind of on and off all day for most of today here where I am. So I figured I'd check and see, if it was still if it was still pretty dry outside, but still coming down even more. So give me just one moment. Check on something. Yeah, I figured what I'll probably do here, I think I'll do another like Animaniacs theme one. And I'm actually doing one based on an idea for the longest time, but maybe it's one where probably the Warriors maybe they're actually running to Mr. Plotz after a couple of years. After a couple of years, probably basically after years after he's finished after he's finished working as CEO for Warner Brothers. And then I figured as a result he decides that he's actually going to wants to visit him. And so I think what we'll do here, I think I'll have the Warrens here. I figured now I could actually have a the Warrens kind of go around each other. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling a bit. I'm still a little tired. Well, I got a little tired because I'd eaten earlier, but yet for some reason it seems like you have a feeling where you kind of eat for a little bit, then also you get tired afterwards. But I think one thing I will focus on is actually just kind of at least getting this initial sketch done before I start yapping some more. And I figured what I will do is I'll have him kind of able to kind of cling to him. Maybe it's like kind of one big group hug. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure they're not too small because I know like the Warner's information applies. Like they weren't that small. They're probably compared to the same like size, almost the same size in a way. In fact, I'm trying to remember were they as tall as Mr. Plus? Or was he a little taller? I'm trying to remember. Now, I think they were about, or maybe they were smaller than him if I remember right. I'm trying to remember. Oh, well, maybe they were small, but they've obviously they've grown over time. So of course they end up being a little bit bigger than him. Ooh, I meant to have Dot up here, not down here. Yeah, let me at least kind of get this, kind of refine this sketch a bit more before I start talking some more, because this pose is kind of giving me a little bit of trouble. Oh! Oh, who's this? Edamame, Mr. Mouse, Idra, Edamame, DJ in the house. Are you done? If I have time, that might be something I can actually do. By the way, it's nice to meet you. I don't think I've seen you on my streams before. But glad to have you here, though. Let me check on something for a brief moment. Just thought I'd say, oh, cool. Well, glad to be able to drop in. Yeah, I have time today. I'll see if I actually kind of do that one as well. But right now, I'm kind of doing sort of like an anime. It's kind of like a fan art piece as a kind of right now for the moment. I'm just doing something, if Yakwa can die. I figured maybe they're doing like visiting or actually missing Mr. Plotz just for like the heck of it. Because the show they always like to annoy him, and you can see that hasn't really changed. So let me. I figure here I have her face, which is kind of like smushed against the side of his face here. Let me get these other arms here. Yeah, what are you drawing? So basically, I'm drawing the war scenes like Yakko, Wacko, and Dot and Maniacs. They're all kind of like hugging on Mr. Plotz. And basically, those who know they're familiar with the show, they used to always kind of always annoy and irritate him throughout the entire show. So I also figure, like there'll be a situation where Faye, like maybe after the show, because those who are familiar with the reboot, he's not really in. Well, technically, he's not no longer CEO like in the reboot version. They have a new CEO now, but his character does appear like one appear at least. Well, there's two times he appears. There's one time his picture appears like in the new CEO's office. They have a new painting of him. But he also appears, well, Sai is a different character. Now, he's not referred directly as Plotz, but it's still the same character design. It's still the same voice actor on Frank Welker, like doing like the same voice. So he does like kind of unofficially does appear like he's in the reboot version. And I'll admit, I know some people have different opinions about the reboot. I actually personally ended up kind of liking how it actually turned out. I will say is I think the reboot it definitely I think it didn't really find its footing until like maybe like the second, really third season, where I think it really kind of captured the feel of like the old show. Because I feel with the old, because I feel with the first season I feel like they tend to have a lot of the they have a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? they tend to kind of let the Warners and Pink and Rain kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting as far as actually like carrying the whole show. When the only thing about it is that really, part of what made, like the show what it was really a variety show because you had characters like you had the Goodfeathers, you had like Miniver and Mink, you had those hippos, you had these other characters too. Hey, Dandy's World Fan, hello, good to see you. Good to see you, and Shay, glad to see you too. Glad see a lot more of you guys are actually kind of dropping in. Yeah, I think I do kind of a quick Yeah, I think I kind of do a quick analysis to make sure most of you guys actually kind of start dropping in. So, yeah, I normally don't stream on Monday, but I figure like since today is like Memorial Day, it's actually Memorial Day, and that's I'm off from work that day. I think I might as well kind of do like a special type of stream. Yeah, yeah. Shay is actually kind of a regular streamer. He usually drops in my streams just about every day I'm here. Yeah, so you actually, so yeah, Adam, so you actually kind of meeting. So at least Shay, you're actually one of the regular members you got a chance to meet. Now, yeah, now of course I know Dan. I think you're pretty new, and Ed, in a moment you're pretty new too. So it's always great to have like some new folks that are here with, they're here as well. And let me see. Let me get his hand. Let me see if I can get these hands down here. He's supposed to be clinging. Yeah, I'm new to the channel. Yeah, and I've been doing these kind of laundry streams for probably about almost almost 3 years now because I started back in 2023, and I've been kind of doing it since then. Even though I've had this channel for much longer than that, because I actually had this channel as far back as 2010. But it really wasn't until like around that time, well, really 2002, I really started getting into the field of actually like uploading actual videos. Because like, because initially at the beginning, of course, yeah, I used the account at first. Of course, I would actually just save like videos I've actually used to watch and favorite online. But I didn't really thanks for shouting to subscribe now. Oh, great, thank you. And but the thing about it is that like in the beginning, I really had no idea like what type of videos I wanted to really make. Did I want to make music ones? Did I want to do art related ones? Did I want to do ones that were more commentary? I really didn't have a good idea like what I wanted to do, in the beginning. So, but in these live streams, they become something I ended up kind of like falling into. Yeah. And let me just kind of like bring his nostrils a bit down a bit more too. Let me bring his cheeks in a bit more. Let me see. And I figure, like for him, like, because he normally has that clean cut, like blue suit. Maybe he's probably traded out for more casual wear. Well, probably a little bit. Well, it'll probably be a little bit probably hard to probably see like what he's wearing underneath. If the woman's clambering on him. Let me see. I make lots of collabs on my channel. Oh, nice. So you guys, new guys, you guys like artists as well, or y'all just kind of do like different stuff? Let me kind of get his legs up on him because because he was a pretty stocky guy too, a short but stocky guy. Let me. Let's see, here goes a gentle floss I'm making. Oh, nice. Yeah, Alpha, yeah, shit. I was actually getting ready to ask if you had a new artwork coming. Because I can keep up with your new stuff on BlueSky. The new stuff is looking great. I've even seen some of it on Instagram as well, because I recently just posted something there not too long ago, too. Yeah, I pretty much kind of slowed down on, like, posting on Instagram, mainly because, well, one, maybe because, for some reason, like, what's what I'm looking for? What was it? What was it? What was it? Because mainly with Instagram, it seems like their algorithm changes like so much, like almost every other month. So it's like my it's really hard for my art to kind of get real traction there, even though I've been on there for years. And the thing about it is like because always changing up, like and they don't really art doesn't really do as well there. Some it's hard to tell like what pictures do well and what doesn't. Because like with some other sites, like say for example, like with DeviantArt or BlueSky, whenever I post on there, like I can easily gauge like what stuff does well and what doesn't. But with Instagram, it's so hard to tell. And don't even get me started on their shorts. I left IG on May 8th. On May 8th. Oh, okay, I figured you'd stop posting because I didn't really see. Because I think I know some of the pictures I came across were like older ones. And plus, I'm at a stage now I kind of want to start streaming. Thankfully, saying disrespectful. Yeah, honestly, when it comes to like disrespectful comments, like I know people like to say TikTok ones are bad. Now, granted, they can be bad. I think Instagram's is just as bad, if not worse. And plus, like I remember like the big thing they always said with Instagram was like, oh, if you want to get good views, you got to start posting shorts like Insta reels. And the weird thing is, like, I remember when I first got into videos, I did do them, and they worked for me, like, at first. Because I remember the first few I would post, like, they actually did really well. Because I remember I posted, this was like in 2022 when I did these. And I remember the first few I did really well, but then, like, later on, like, they ended at some, like, all of a sudden, I remember the algorithm, because I remember looking it up, and then apparently they made new changes to the app. And then all of a sudden, like, the videos that I did, like, they went from having like up to like almost like 100 faves per video. Then it went all the way down to like what 20. And now now it's at a point to where like they barely even crack 20. And the weird thing is like on there is like your Timber Tomix, OJ. I've gotten better reception on doing YouTube shorts here because they are average. Because I usually get some pretty good ones here, and on TikTok I've gotten some pretty good ones there too. Facebook, I'm not too sure because it's been years since I've posted anything on Facebook. Even though I have a Facebook account, I haven't really posted on there in years. Instagram, Theater King doesn't become disrespectful stuff. And yeah, even though they're I appear on see them on TikTok. Yeah, Instagram I think is where they tend to get they really seem to come out the woodworks. All right, let's see. Because I think as far as like places where I post a lot of my artwork, because I know Instagram it's still somewhat semi post on there. I semi post on Instagram. I still semi post on Tumblr. Now, granted, Tumblr it's gotten a lot quiet. It's pretty quieter now. I still semi post on there, but of course I post here. I post on DeviantArt. I do BlueSky. And for a while, I did post on a lesser known like art site, Artful. I used to post on there for a little while. It was actually, and that was kind of big for like one hot moment. But I don't know if anybody's really posting on there now. I think, granted, from my knowledge, I think they're having issues with their server because I think I tried posting something on there a while back and for some reason it wouldn't let me post anything. So hopefully they can get that like taken care of because you're not really gonna have people stay on your art site. If the people can't post anything. I am considering like other sites too. The thing is I don't want to get too caught up in posting on so many different like art sites. Because I've heard Kara's good. I've heard Kara's a good site to post on. I've heard Doomtown's another good one too. So I might consider, looking that as an option if I want to start expanding my art art posting at the other platforms. So, all right, so let me see. Let me just get my fingers. Get both of their fingers going. I figured maybe one of his hands are actually on. Actually, his head that they're all. That one of his gribbly hands that's kind of on him here. Maybe it's covering up his hat. And maybe we have part of his ties underneath here. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So, I think what I'll do next, I'm gonna start Can Can as a fun musical. I've heard of Can Can. I've heard that movie is pretty good. I think Can Can, that's Can, it's like more of an older one, isn't it? He was like Cole Porter, finished that in the 1890s. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Heard that one is pretty good. Heard that. But that's like, that's why you're talking about the film, not the original movie. Yeah, 1960 movie. Yeah, that's the one that has Frank Sinatra, Shirley MacLaine, Maurice Chalamet, and Louis Jordan. That's right, because it has a. I remember it had a pretty like big cast, at least big at that time. So I think what I will do now, let me just go ahead and actually start refining our characters here. So let me start with like Dot here. I think I'll have it here where their face a little distorted because they're all kind of smooched up against him. So we get that here, and we also get, her arms at the bottom. Because I am planning on coloring this in later on. You don't think I was going to leave this, like as is, with no color. Even though I am using that kind of color here for the, color here for sketching. Let's see. Let me get his hand here. Let's see. So let me kind of get down here. Let me get around his torso here. His slacks, a famous song, that famous tune. We have baloney in our slacks. That song. And plus, it's been a while since I did say Animaniacs because I used to do Animaniacs like fan art all the time. Well, I still sort of do it now, but I've kind of slowed down it now because I try to do more work that's what has features more of my original characters rather than doing just fan art. In fact, one thing I actually probably will do like later on is actually show you guys some of the other, I think the other stuff I actually have made, like outside what I'm working on right now. Alright, so that looks good. Let me get his nose. He has this nose where it kind of goes up and curls around, and because at the bottom here, he's got these bags underneath his eyes. I have his nose, and maybe it was one year where it's kind of like peeking up above his, his little hairline. I'm back. The means this turkey, not for Thanksgiving, for dinner. Ate the whole thing was so good. Oh, nice. Yeah, I hope it sounds like it was good. Yeah, in fact, you gotta be thinking about Thanksgiving too. Cause yeah, guys, real, it'll be here before we know it. Even though it's still several months away, you know, like, so for me, time always goes by so fast. Because first, you know, because it didn't seem like that not too long ago, where it seemed like we're in January, it was still cold out here. Now we're already knee deep in spring, and then you really next month, pretty soon we'll be in summer now. It's starting to feel like summer now because it's gotten so warm lately. It's starting to rain a lot more now here. Because here in Georgia, where I am, you know, like our summers are usually very hot, but they're also very humid too, because we'll get quite a bit of rain here. Let's see, crowd composition and drawing. Hey, thank you. I'm glad you're liking it so far. I think I'll have his other cheek here. Maybe it's kind of bending. Maybe it's kind of bunched up against, you know, his face here. I think I might add a little bit of dialogue here. I'm trying to show how I want to do it. Actually, I have that here. Okay, I think that looks good. So, what I think I will do next, let me start using our markers for this one. So, give me just one moment. Alright, here I go. Here we are. I had to get the markers out for a moment. I didn't have a moment the case had fallen out. So I think what I will do here, I'll start by coloring in plots in here. I really enjoy working on Jumbo Line Dance at the Circus. I love proposing the break. I think I did. That's the most recent one I did see on BlueSky. I really liked how that one turned out. Yeah, because you're actually getting really good. Yeah, Shay, you're actually getting really good at doing your backgrounds. I really like how your backgrounds are turning out. Yeah, all the other guys here, I definitely remember checking out Shay's work. His stuff is pretty good. It's very light, it's very bright, very colorful. Yeah, I definitely recommend checking him out. And what about Ego? He's a road navigator. Oh, really? He is. That's neat. Yeah, okay, this is actually a perfect shade for him because I know his skin was peach, but it was kind of a dull peach too. A moment where he was very scared of mice. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm still a little scared when it comes to mice. Now, seeing him in a pet store, I'm totally fine. See him out in the wild, it's a little different. No, actually, I take that back. I don't mind mouse. It's rats. I tend to be cool. Tend to feel kind of too iffy about, and mainly with those that and mainly with those I have an issue because I'm so used to seeing them when I used to go to Subway. Because those of them who know a little anything about me, I used to ride on public transportation, you know, like for years, and one of the things that I used to remember seeing a lot, especially during the early years at our Subway. I remember seeing a lot of like Subway rats because I would see them, you know, in the aisles. I would see them on the rails. I'd gotten so used to seeing them, not just small ones, it'd be big ones too. But they knew where to go because I remember I would see like on the bottom of at the bottom of the rails, and anytime a train, so they'd always scatter. So it's not like they would get caught in the middle of them. think I'll have part of his shirt sleeve here. Alright. That looks pretty good. So, let me see what color I want to use next for him. Yeah, let me kind of get going. Alright, so let me kind of get anything. Sure it is. I figured, I know he used to have like a dark blue suit, but I figured that a light blue might work for him here. Maybe probably give him his pants. Yeah, I've really gotten to use. For those who are new to my stream, I've really gotten to using these acrylic markers a lot more, and this time I'm using these Posca pens. I've had these Posca markers for the longest time. I didn't really use them that much, but now that I've kind of gotten into acrylic markers, now it's like, okay, I need to start actually using these now. And for the looks of it, I don't think they really handle this paper well, because I know it seems to be picking up a lot of the paint, a lot of the paper here, which is strange because it's like I know the other markers that I've used, they seem to work on here just fine. So I'm surprised it's picking up so much ink here, so much of the paper here. That limit course, and of course, we'll use some red here. We'll use that for the Warner's like signature little noses. Actually, let me kind of get this just a little bit more. That's it. I have 2 figurines. I know Tom's brother Paws. One is my birthday present. Oh, nice. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I think you mentioned the. Have you mentioned that one before? I don't think you mentioned having the Priscilla. Cause I suppose you mentioned the Priscilla one before. But that's cool that you got both of them. Trying to see what I want to add next. I think what I'm going to do next, I'm going to start coloring in the Warren's fur while we're at it. Let me get his little section on his cheeks here. I'll join Animaniacs. Oh yeah, it's a classic show. It's a classic show, and I know I've mentioned it before in some of my older streams. It's one of the shows I've always liked, but I never really got into really loving it until like years later. Because I remember liking them back when these aired on Cartoon Network back in the day, and on Nickelodeon. Because I only saw it in reruns whenever it was out. Even though the show came out, fun fact, it came out the same year and month I was born, September 1993. So I was born the same month, around the same time it came out. But when I really got around to watching it, I used to catch it on rerun because I think it usually initially I think it aired on Fox Kids back in the day. But then afterwards, Cartoon Network picked up and they aired them the reruns there, and that's where I used to always watch it. Then of course later on, afterwards, when Boomerang came out, I think Boomerang aired MX for a while. I'll catch it there, and then I think it was really when I saw the episodes online, when I was online for a while, I that's when I really fell in love because that's when I really started really falling in love with the show. And then of course, when it reappeared on the Hub Network, and that's before it ended up getting the channel get rebranded as the Hasbro Network. That's when I really kind of started falling in love with it. Oops, sorry for hitting the camera. I didn't mean to do that. Uh-oh. Wait, me watch my hand here. I don't want... Try to be careful when I'm placing my hand, because I know, Because I know some of the paint here is still drying. Then we get her ears at the top. And we get the pants, you get the slacks on the side too. Looks pretty good. And of course, then we color in Dodge the rest of here. I think I'll use that for his tongue here too. Use it on the inside of his phone. I'm trying to see what color I want to use for his hat though. I'm still deciding. I think I will use that for his thing that's dupe blue for his tie though. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Looking alright. Excellent. Alright, so what was I going to use next? Oh yeah. So I'm just going to use this to kind of go over some of these lines right here. Yeah, good work. I'll leave early and see you on the next stream. And thanks, Jay. I'm glad you were able to drop in. It was great seeing you. I'm glad you were able to drop in for a little bit. I know stream was kind of last moment, but I'm glad you were able to still drop in anyway. It's always great to see you guys. So I'm just gonna use it to kind of go over some of these, to kind of go over these light areas. I'm trying to use it to kind of actually lighten up with light areas where I got some of these red, a lot of these red marks. I realized I went pretty heavier than I intended in a lot of these areas. It's looking pretty good. So, because one thing I am gonna do next is once I'm done kind of laying down all these colors, I am gonna go back with regular drawing pen and actually like refine the line work a bit more. Okay, so let me get my drawing pen so we can actually refine this a bit more. Give me just one moment, guys. Okay, here we go. I'm just kind of blow on making sure everything's dry. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Posca pens here. I've never had the paper coming up like this, like this with the these pens. Maybe because it's got that felt nib, whereas the other you know acrylic markers they tend to have more of a brush nib. So I'm able to kind of go over a lot of stuff just in one pass. That could be what's going on. So I figured let me start. Trying to be Gotta be very careful with my line work here because this stuff is not drying as quickly as I expected. Let me kind of get the bridge of his little eyebrows here. Because he had these really thick, like bridge for where his eyebrows normally would be. Hey, hey, Brendan Barney. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, I'll be honest. This was kind of like a last minute thing I decided to do for today, where I actually decided to actually kind of do it kind of like a quick a quick like Memorial Day stream. Yeah, so I went and kind of posted an announced it like not too long after I started that I'd be doing one. So I'll admit, it was kind of a last minute thing, but also I hadn't really decided like up until just now like what time of day I want to really do it. Because at first I was considering doing it later on this evening, but I figured by later on this evening, like most of you guys will probably be busy with other things you gotta do for later on the day. So I figured I'll do it kind of like early in the day while it was actually, while it was actually not that bad. And what I'm doing for today is that I'm actually kind of doing like Animaniacs themed drawing, something that's kind of a fairly quick one. Where I think I'm doing one. I think where it's I think the Warrens actually Warren Mr. Plotz. So I kind of drew a scenario. I think maybe because those who are familiar with the reboot, Plotz is not in the reboot now. He's actually retired, and so I figured maybe he's actually living at home, or he's at like a living center somewhere. With their goodwill to men, gestures intense. I've heard it is. I've only seen parts of it. It looks like it was a pretty intense short. And what's interesting, essentially, it's made by this. I think it's made by the same guys of did Tom and Jerry, like William and Joseph Barbera. And I think because it came out like in 1955, so it's interesting because it's like right around that time, you know, like they were still doing like the Tom and Jerry shorts. I've only seen I've only seen parts here now, but I need to get around to actually like seeing like the whole, short. Even more than its 1939 short. I forgot that it was a sequel to that's a sequel to like an older short. Because I think that's a yeah, because that's a sequel to the short from 1939 called Peace on Earth. I think that's the one you're referring to. I think from one from 1939. Because that one I have seen, and even that one is pretty. That one was pretty grim too. Even though it kind of ends with some kind of a hopeful message. Because I remember like that 1939 show. I remember seeing that one on actually an episode of probably showing my age here, Toonheads. Yep, Rudolph Ising, it was. Yeah, it had yeah, that whole show is a Rudolph Ising production through and through, where a lot of the shorts and they have these really like lush backgrounds and these really like detailed animation. Yeah, that's a hallmark of like Rudolph Ising shorts. But I remember especially with on TuneNet, because what they would do is that they would actually show like different like older cartoons, and they would have like different themes for it. Like they would have some episodes where they would show stuff from like Tex Avery. They had some stuff that was all like Christmas themed. Charted V minor, a newly found toe is brought in Charted where he calls for failure through a violin, and so I tried to showcase to everyone. Oh, nice! Who knew? I had no idea Charted was musically inclined. Oh, Hugh Harman. Okay. Well, it's easy to get confused because I think Rudolph Ising and Hugh Harman, they were both doing like similar types of shorts like right around that same time. So I understand the confusion. Because hell, I even got confused myself. So we get his shoulders here. And even just think about Rudolph Ising and Harmonize. I just think about that very first like Tom and Jerry short, Puss Gets the Boot, and just think about how different that short is compared to what would come later on. Aside from obvious things, like the fact that they don't really have names, of course, like Jerry's was unofficially called Jinx, Tom was called Jasper, and just their overall designs were very scruffy and not as anthropomorphized as they would come later on. Just even the overall pacing that first show was so different too, because like the pacing's a lot slower. Like there's not. There's slapstick, but it's not as violent as it probably would get later on down the line. Like it's still more cute compared to like as it would get later on down the line. The Milky Way, yep, I remember that one. And honestly, funny enough, I think as a kid, for some reason as a kid, anytime I saw it, I always had to get a crave for milk right afterward because they made it so much appetizing it is in real life. It was a DVD release. Academy Awards and nomination. Yeah, that's right. Because Milky Way, it won that Academy Award. Because Puss Gets the Boot, it was nominated that year, but Milky Way got the award. I remember. Yeah, it's coming back to me now. Oh, was Looney Tunes actually? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, if I recall, there was quite a number of different shorts that were nominated that year. In fact, let me look that up real quick. Because I think there was quite a few that were actually selected to actually win that year. Let me see something. Let me see. Yeah, best short subject. So they had a few stuff. So they had on Spice being Gonzalez or Woodward's. Really? That's interesting. I didn't even know that. I'll be honest, I didn't realize Ain't Speed Gonzalez cartoons got an Oscar, to be honest. But I think for that year, 1940, I'm looking up right now. So they had quite a couple of stuff that came out as far as cartoons, though. So they had Detouring America. That was like a Warner Brothers short. It was Peace on Earth. That was the MGM one. They had The Pointer. That was like a Mickey Mouse cartoon. And I think, let me see what else did they have on here as well. They had sword. No, not that one. That was a live action one. I thought could saw there was some other ones on here too. Let me see. Oh, that's the only ones that start showing up here. Alley Cat Gang. Alley Cat Gang joined Meow. Wizard dressed as a baby. Still pretty for a rich lady. Yeah, I recognize that. I was at that plot line. Baby dresses up. The criminal is actually excuse me. The criminal is actually a criminal mastermind. Wild Hair was in that range next year. That's right, because Wild Hair I think came out in 41. You know, Wild Hair, that's considered the official first Bugs Bunny cartoon. Even though there've been other like prototype like Bugs Bunny that came out a couple years beforehand, I know that was considered the first. I tell you, it's always so fascinating to look at like old shorts from like shorts or different cartoons, like how they started out versus how they would go like later on down the line. The Alley Cat Gang. Can they try to see a giant candy factory get a giant colored trout? That's gotta be that sounds like an interesting combination right there. Chocolate and trout. For cats, it's probably no problem, but I know for humans like us, that's gotta be really hard trying to get that, starting to stomach that down. Let me kind of get the smile here. And you know, I came across a video not too long ago. In fact, I'll probably post in the DMs like later in Discord later on the night. Where is it? I forgot this guy's YouTuber's name, but he actually went through a book that covered like covered all the It was from a book that was called 50 Greatest Cartoon Shorts of All Time. I think that's what it was called. In fact, let me look that up real quick. I'm trying to remember what it was. The 50 greatest cartoons. So it was based on a book written by Jerry Beck, and basically as YouTuber, you know, he actually kind of like went through a whole list where basically kind of like reviewed each short, even kind of gave his own like rankings and reviews on them. It was actually pretty good too because if I ever see Horatio and Teen Years South Africa, you never drew a packing type galleries yet. You know, I haven't. Come to think of it, you're right. I don't think I have. Because I am familiar with Horatio and Teeny, but if that's right, I had never got around to really doing them as of yet. But that is something I have to actually get around to actually doing like one of these days. Yes, I'll have to make sure I add that to my list. Let me kind of get the her skirt here. Yeah, but I'll make sure I add those to my list. But the other thing I was getting ready to get back to is I think for the YouTube that kind of went and reviewed all the all the shorts. It was actually pretty neat because it kind of like actually kind of gave like a little insight behind like each short. And sometimes he would have some way who kind of rank them lower than I thought would have ranked them lower. Others he ranked pretty high. And others times where he would, you know, where he give him a higher rating, but he say it wouldn't be his favorite. I can know one, for example, that he mentions that because I know on the list, list it includes Tom and Jerry's cat, a cat concerto, and I remember in that one he kind of actually he actually states how while he thinks it's a good short, he doesn't consider, you know, like Tom and Jerry's best. And while I sort of partially disagree with that, I do think Caricature is definitely considered one of their best ones. And while granted there are other shorts they've done that were just as good, if not better, Caricature definitely definitely deserves, you know, that title. As a lot of I know, so I get back to this, Manville thrives in vaudeville today. Oh, I can definitely see that, especially in your drawings, how it has that old school like vaudeville feel. Yeah, which I like that it has. It kind of gives that old kind of like classic feel with it as well. Yeah, I can definitely see that like on your old work. But also it helps, a lot of those that old vaudeville. In fact, I didn't get around to actually like really watching like some old like vaudeville shorts. Because I know a lot, because even a lot of the older like cartoonists from back in the day and animators, when they did their cartoons, they based it heavily on old like vaudeville acts. In fact, I think even one of the very first even one of the very first like cartoon stars like Felix the Cat, part of his most popular cartoons were the ones that he did where I think Charlie Chaplin actually appeared alongside with him. I think like so many different like I'm trying to like different like vaudeville acts actually appear in cartoons. I think Charlie Chaplin, he was one in some of the early silent era. And I think I'm trying to think Marx Brothers, were they considered vaudeville? They were considered vaudeville because I know they used to appear in a lot of like cartoons back in the day too. And one other too, I think Buster Keaton, I think appeared in cartoons a few times. Laura and Hart, I remember seeing them a lot. They would appear a lot in like really old cartoons. Frank's family reunion. Frank brings Chuck and Ren along to his family reunion. Do I get to see Frank's family for the first time? Ooh, that sounds like a very pretty good one. Because you can act, because that'd be a good scenario. You can invent like a lot of different characters in that one. Let me see. This old big war where Fonda Patel's collide is actually delicious. Oh, good. So at least it ended. Yes, at least it ended. So at least the conflict actually ends. That ends on a positive note. Okay, so I think what I will do here, because let me see if I can erase some of these marks here. Give me just one moment. Speaking of family reunions, it's been a while since I've been to one myself. I remember I used to go to one. Frank Appalachian Mountains. Oh, really? I can see him growing up there, up in deep in the Appalachian Mountains. I could see him being in that little region. But I know it's been a while since I've been to kind of a family reunion myself because I know there was one that I used to go to every frequently on my granddad's side down in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, we went there for about 2 years, I think, before he had passed. I think afterwards they did another one in Watley, Georgia, in the Grand. I haven't been to there, but I've heard like Watley is one of those smaller towns. I've heard there's really not much to do there. But I have to take that. I think it was one other year I think we went for family and we did it in Biloxi. Broken down shack, his dog bears because his husky babysitter. Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds really fun right there. Yes, I'm just gonna use this gel pen to kind of really kind of refine some of these areas a bit here too, here and there. And what else I was going to mention? He'll probably come back to me. Oh yeah, I think I probably already mentioned. I think direct back in the Discord, I got just to watch more of those Finelli's SpongeBob's vids. I think he's become probably my new favorite cartoon on commentator now. I just honestly really love how he actually explains, like what makes certain episodes work, what makes others not work. And I also like that he's even willing to kind of give like some of the more new episodes a shot, where how even every now and then he'll talk about how even some newer episodes like they even get right the right sometimes. Log flume, log from when ride breaks down, try to feel right, show the wizard goes oh when it goes up in flames. Oh, that's That's when you know you got bad construction right there, or even, or whatever ride you got went center on water, even that ends up going up in flames. That's when you know you got something that's badly made. All right, let me see if everything the camera's still in focus. And I figured this would be kind of a scenario here where if he has maybe Plotz is kind of a retirement home somewhere. You know, he's probably lonely, but lonely, doesn't really get any visitors, so he calls up probably the last people we want to see, but they're probably the only people he'd want to visit. I know the show's up your style here to proper motivation. Yeah, most definitely, because he really kind of breaks down, you know, like kind of what makes, you know, good storytelling, and it also made me appreciate, you know, like appreciate like Tell Me Older's a lot more, especially like that one with Bubble Buddy. That one I was actually genuinely surprised at how well he made it, because not only he kind of breaks down kind of what makes it funny, but also how it works with stories, like how Bubba is not just a friend Sponge created, you know, it's something he created. It also shows, you know, like how it's a thing of his imagination. Thing of his imagination too, and it's also in a way it's kind of subtly teaching you kind of a lesson as well. So yeah, it's definitely kind of one of my favorite kind of like cartoon related channels. Because the only one I think off the top of my head that I normally watch is like the Real Gems. Now the Real Gems, he normally does stuff with Simpsons, but I've always done. But honestly, I think it was through him I kind of started getting the Simpsons a lot more, because kind of like with this guy here, he kind of like breaks down like certain episodes. He talks about what works in some of these older episodes and what doesn't work in some of these newer ones. But even then, he's not completely dismissive, you know, some of these newer episodes like a lot of other reviewers are. Like, he's willing to give a lot of shows from different eras like their own fair shake. No, that's that day. It seems like the story to go over guys need to tell the story makes it really confusing. Yeah, that's the weird thing with SpongeBob nowadays, because there have been every now and then it has its moments, but I do agree. It seems that they're more focused on actually like doing these gags and being over top of it versus telling an actual narrative. And granted, there are like some episodes like where it can work, where it's just good fun, and other times it can get really distracting. So yeah, I definitely do agree, you know, agree with that notion. With that being said, I think like every now and then, like even now and then, sometimes they'll still have an episode that will actually do they'll actually do pretty well. Unfortunately, I can't think of any particular ones at the moment, but sometimes they have some episodes like nowadays that, you know what, you guys hit it just right. It may not be classic SpongeBob, but it's still, you made something that was pretty good. But in other times, it's just like, it's either middle of the road or it's just like, what were you guys trying to do again? Like, sometimes it's hard to tell. Which is strange because one of the showrunners that runs it, yeah, I think I know the guy you're talking about. I think it's Vincent Waller. Because I know because while he works on SpongeBob now, he worked on Ren and Stimpy too. In fact, I think a few folks from Ren and Stimpy are on SpongeBob now. Because I think him, Bob Jacques, he's an animator on there now. Kelly Armstrong, they're on there now too. I know, I think in fact, with them having more of like a focal say in the art department, that kind of explains why the show has more of like an animated, more wackier look. And granted, from what I've been seeing now, it seems like sometimes a lot of the more gag-driven shorts they have nowadays, they tend to feel more like something you see in a Ren and Stimpy episode rather than a SpongeBob one. Like, I know one I can think off the top of my head is I think it was that one that was Cuddles E Hugs, and I think it was the one Laundra Madness. After you said you don't, I think I've heard that one. I think heard that one's just okay. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that one's okay. But one that just came to mind is it was one they had called Cuddles E Hugs. I think it's one where like Sponge has that menial like this jerk that only he can see, and it only ends up coming up because he ends up eating like, I think it's like this rotten like cat food or something. Yeah, don't ask. There's a lot to it in that. But it gets pretty bizarre too, because of course, you know, like, it gets to the point where he's giving it to everybody else, and then they can see him, and it's kind of got this dark undercurrent too, because where at that point, you know, like colors, he ends up becoming pretty evil and ends up eating them at the very end. And the weird thing about it is, like, it's the type of plot that I feel would have been right at home in more of a Ren and Stimpy short rather than, say, a SpongeBob one. Not for the many times I experiment the crew with SpongeBob nowadays. Oh yeah, I could have. Yeah, I'm pretty sure if they brought you on board, on the writing board, you definitely be able to write some better episodes for them. So I'm trying to think, what was I gonna put here? In fact, one that just popped up at the top of my head is I can't remember the title, but it was actually one of the ones Ferrelli had talked about at one of the videos I saw last night, where it was really the ones I think where he was going over different plots of all your Mr. Krabs, and he was talking about different scenarios where the crust ends up getting demolished or destroyed in some degree. But one thing I think he talked about one episode. I guess the Krusty Krab, where they run like an ice cream shop. And apparently, apparently they ended up getting they ended some sort of turf war. I think it was supposed to have a parody of like the Godfather. And what's weird is that it's kind of a weird thing because they're doing something that's relatively innocent, but they're actually paired against what the Godfather. And it's not like a weird kind of a Breaking Bad scenario where it's like where everyone involved is doing some shady stuff. He's doing something that's actually fairly innocent and actually decent for once. He's not actually being a big schemer like he normally would be. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. And what's weird is that I don't think he pointed out himself, but someone else in the comment section that pointed out is that they could have easily went down that almost like Breaking Bad, almost like mafia route, because those of you who remember the movie SpongeBob movie, ice cream's almost kind of like alcohol, because you remember when when SpongeBob packed they're going to Goofy Goobers, they end up getting pretty much drunk on ice cream. They could have decided to go that route. If they wanted to, because they pretty much set it up. Me and Vance played a character named Marlon, who's a helicopter and talks like Marlon Brando. Marlon, is he actually like... So what is Marlon? Is he like an actual... Helicoprion? Is that like a sea animal by any chance? Like a dinosaur? Okay, gee, it's a fossil fish. Okay, so it's a type of... So it's extinct type of fish. He's a big shark boss. Okay, cool, cool. Just out of curiosity, does he happen to interact with the... Yeah, does he happen to interact, with, kind of Shark Tooth's gang? Or is he kind of more of his own... Is this kind of his own thing? Kind of his own little adventures? This isn't turning out this isn't turning out quite like I had hoped, but that's alright. I can still make this work. He's the only one that survived the meteorite. Yeah, so he's definitely seen just about everything, I bet. I'll use a brush pen for this one, for the main outlines. Oh, here we go. There's a speech talking to do with his job, but it tries to understand his mother. Like, oh, that's funny though. Like, we can understand, but they can understand him. That's funny. I like that. Funny, speaking about Marlon Brando, there was this unreleased movie that from a while back. It never got released that he was actually in. It was actually one of the last projects that he was in. I think it was called The Big Bug Man. And apparently it was supposed to come out back in 2006. And apparently it was one of the very last projects, he worked on before he passed. And I don't know what's going on with that movie, because apparently, he recorded his work back in 2004 because he was able to finish everything before he passed. And it was supposed to come back in 2005. No, not 2005, 2006. Which is strange because apparently it had a pretty good sized cast. Because it had him, it had Brendan Fraser as the main character. Nicholas Dunderback, Ellie Rose, Cindy Lou, Paul Schaefer, BB King. BB King was the narrator. Michael Madsen, Fantasia Barrino. And apparently, apparently it was a post been voiced by Andre 3000 or Cuba Gooding Jr. They don't know which one. Yeah, I have no. Yeah, I haven't been able to find out much about this movie other than just some concept art. Yeah, so I don't know if like they, yeah, delays be damned indeed. So I don't know if they lost funding, or there was some sort of legal issue, or if it just got shelved. I wish it did get released because it looked like it's a pretty fun movie. Maybe at worst maybe a bit generic, but at least it was fun. Especially since it was a hand drawn film too. And everyone insisted 12 Angry Animals, Mayor Feathers, like, ooh, a 12 Angry Men parody. 12 Angry Animals, the Mayor Feathers have been put up to a trial family unit to commit, and everyone's insisted that he's guilty except Squirt, who has to speak up what really happened. Oh, that sounds like a good one. You can't go wrong with a parody of 12 Angry Men. I'm just going to use this brush to go around our outline here. Yeah, it's not quite perfect, but perfect as I would like, but at least I think I got it looking as good as I want it to be. And plus I can always do some extra like touch-up work just later on. Yeah, for some reason those Poshka markers that I used earlier, for some reason they kind of, if for some reason they were kind of like picking up the paper a bit here. I don't know why they're doing that, cuz I've used them on this other pad in here, then they don't really have that issue where they start picking up the paper. So I'm not sure why it's happening here, because both of them is mixed media paper. So I think I'm gonna start wrapping it up here in just a moment. I was gonna try to do another one based on their suggestions from one of the viewers from earlier, but I figured I'd save it for another time. The last laugh, thanks like me and Holly just had his last show's ready to retire, much afraid it's May, so he's up a shot to get him back fifth. Oh, cool. Freddy reveals to be oh, that's messed up. Oh, that's messed up. That's funny, but that's messed up though. I think I have this speech bubble a little bit more jagged here, since Plot's more of a cantankerous like person. Okay, there we go. That's looking much better now. Sometimes it's always out. He was the extra clever time around. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go on the edge. Maybe start thinking of the lines here and there. And I meant to do my stream. I was considering doing a stream a little earlier, but time just kind of kept getting away from me. Because I know after I'm done, this streaming, I do have a few errands I am planning on doing. I was planning on going by the some of the events downtown, because here in Atlanta we got the Atlanta Jazz Festival going on. Because today's the last day. I was thinking to that, but I really didn't see too many folks on the bill this year that I really want to rush out and see. At least not that many. The only two I recognize I really want to go see was Kamasai Washington. You know, he did a lot of music on. He's a saxophone player. He played on like Kendrick Lamar stuff. And then there's the Roots. They're like a '90s like rap group. They did a lot of stuff like rap, like jazz and hip hop. But they were playing on days where I had to work, and you know it was really busy. You know, up at my up at you know up, you know up at my day job there this past weekend. This is not. This is turning out okay. This is not how I had planned for it to turn out, but actually, you know, I see what I can do. Also, how nice you got to see a sax player. Hey, thank you. Diamond does what you go overall to get Diamond out of a mountain and be a search. Oh, your dad used to play saxophone. Oh, that's cool. Might be hard to. Might be a question. What type of sax did you have to play? Was it like an alto sax, a tenor sax, like a baritone sax? Because you know, like alto sax, they're usually kind of small. Baritone saxes are usually huge, and you know, tenor saxes they're usually kind of in the middle. That's cool though. I didn't know you. I didn't know you had some musicians in your family. I see where you kind of get your I see where you probably get your musical chops from though. Yeah, I've been to like probably the jazz fest a few times in the past. I think what are some of the different artists I've seen? Cause whoa, dropped my pencil. Gosh, I got my pencil. My pen cap. Hang on, stand by. Oh, I'll have to look for it later. Diamond Doyle stories in the chat. Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out later. I'll definitely have to check that out. But oh, sorry about that. Let me see what's going on with the thing. Give me just one moment. Make sure my settings are looking okay. Okay, cool. It's in the live chat. Okay. Let me see. Give me just one moment. It's in the live chat. Okay, it was in the live chat. Okay, I got you. Yeah, so I'll have to check. Yeah, so I'll definitely check it out later on. Cause let me see. What was I getting to add next? Because now I'm trying to see what else do I want to add this before I start to go ahead and call it for today. Museum, and I was just found to not be able to achieve something, to get a diamond out of a mountain. The Play Museum would also come as not being able to achieve something. Ooh, so it's gonna be kind of like an adventure. So it's kind of an adventure type of story, like an Indiana Jones type of deal. Don't mind achieve something. So that's neat. It's like an Indiana Jones. Oh, it's an Indiana Jones type of adventure in a way, or at least one of those type of movies where it has that like adventure, like Spielbergy feel. Cool. Let me around here too. Let me get at the bottom here, here, and here. The other thing I was getting ready to mention is that yeah, it's been a while since I've been to the jazz festival here because like I think in a while they haven't really had too many acts I really went to rush out to go see. The few other off the top of my head that I've seen, you know, as far as actually more like well-known ones, I've seen Herbie Hancock. He was like a piano player. I've seen Pharoah Sanders. He was more an avant-garde one. Now he used to play with because he even played with artists such as John Coltrane. Then there was like Spyro Gyra. In fact, Spyro Gyra, they're more like a smooth jazz group. I actually got a chance to get a few autographs from them. I remember one of their new albums out at the time. I think it was Down the Wire. I think that was the name of their album. I had gotten one of their albums at the time, and when I went to go see them at the festival, well, first off, I just barely missed them because my family, we got there when they were on stage. And, we got there, they had just finished the show, but they were going to, after the show, they did like a kind of meet and greet thing where you could actually get their album, but you also get their autograph too. So I get a chance to go down there and actually get a chance to meet the bandmates. I get a chance to autograph them, so it was pretty cool. I still think Wayne Knight would prefer Leonard, give his personality. Oh yeah, Wayne Knight, that'd be a perfect voice for him, because Wayne Knight, he's always had that voice where it could be very energetic, but also very cantankerous too. Yeah, Wayne Knight would be a perfect voice for him. Make alto sax. Yeah, I think alt. Yeah, I think because alto sax, that's often pretty popular. It's pretty popular like sax because like it's because you can get those nice like bright sounds, but also they're very convenient too because they're not as heavy as say like a tenor sax or baritone sax. Mm, I'll probably think later on I'll probably try to fix this a little later on after stream because I'm not too pleased how Wacko's looking here. But other than that, I think I'm actually going to call it here for today with this one here. Hey, so I appreciate all of you that dropped in for a stream today. Hey, Brendan, I appreciate you dropping in. I know it's kind of the last minute, but I'm glad to see you drop in as well. And so hopefully I should have some more stuff to actually share like later on in like this upcoming week. So of course that's just another thing I'm planning on working on. That's a fight rough sketch. That of course there's our turtle guy that of course you guys saw earlier yesterday. And so I hope to see you guys around the same time this upcoming Saturday. Well, actually not the same time, it's around regular time, around 11. So in the meantime, guys, hope you all have a great Memorial Day. Have a great week. See you next time.